Now we find out that Iran's hacking Trump's team's material and then sending it to Democrats. FISA warrants, anyone? Kamala Harris has been publicly endorsed by Vladimir Putin, and Iran's working behind the scenes to help her campaign and the Democrats. Do you get that? Kamala Harris, publicly endorsed by Vladimir Putin, and now Iran's working behind the scenes. So for those that missed the story, I believe it was the State Department put out a memo today. Joint ODNI, FBI, and CISA statement on Iranian election influence efforts. This is from today, September 18th, 2024. Today, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency released the following statement. Since the 19th of August, 2024, joint ODNI, FBI, and CISA public statement on Iranian influence efforts, the FBI has learned additional details about Iran's efforts to sow discord and shape the outcome of the U.S. election. Iranian malicious cyber actors in late June and early July sent unsolicited emails to individuals then associated with President Biden's campaign that contained excerpts taken from stolen, non-public material from former President Trump's campaign as text in the emails. There is currently no information indicating these recipients replied. Furthermore, Iranian malicious cyber actors have continued their efforts since June to send stolen, non-public material associated with former President Trump's campaign to U.S. media organizations. This malicious cyber activity is the latest example of Iran's multi-pronged approach, as noted in the joint August statement, to stoke discord and undermine confidence in our electoral process. As the lead for the threat response, the FBI, I'm sure they'll do a great job, has been tracking this activity and has been in contact with the victims and will continue to investigate and gather information in order to pursue and disrupt the threat actors responsible. Foreign actors are increasing their election influence activities as we approach November. In particular, Russia, Iran, and China are trying by some measure to exacerbate divisions in U.S. society for their own benefit and see election periods as a moment of vulnerability. Efforts by these or other foreign actors to undermine our democratic institutions are a threat direct to the U.S. and will not be tolerated. The FBI and CISA encourage campaigns and election infrastructure stakeholders to report concerning suspicious activities to, and there's the places you could report it. Now let's hold the Democrats to the standard. Are we sure where Progressive Victory PAC's money comes from? Are we sure? Is there any Iranian money going to Progressive Victory PAC? All of those people that jumped on the Russians paying Tenet Media, are we sure? Are there FISA warrants being issued against the Biden team? The Biden campaign? Do we have FISA warrants? Are we setting up honeypots? Because that's the standard, right? In 2016, that's the standard that the FBI had, right? Russia was supposedly trying to hack Democrat stuff and give information to the Trump campaign. So we had FISA warrants. We had to spy on them. We had this massive FBI investigation, which the target of was the Trump campaign. They didn't inform the Trump campaign that Russia might be influencing. Instead, they just started spying on them with FISA warrants and other investigative techniques. They sent a honeypot, a hot woman, to talk to George Papadopoulos by the name of Azra Turk, a pseudonym, and Stephen Halper, who was an FBI asset. They sent them to spy on George Papadopoulos. They got FISA warrants to go after Carter Page. So surely that's the treatment being given now, right? That's how we do things, correct? And those FISA warrants through the two-hop rule would be able to spy on the entirety of the the Biden campaign, which would include now the Harris campaign. Right? And I'm sure they'll be leaking to the press the details of that stuff, right? And I'm sure they'll be using those FISA warrants to bring people up on charges nothing to do with colluding with Iranians. Just like they did, right, with Roger Stone and with George Papadopoulos and with Paul Manafort. I'm sure that's what they'll be doing, correct? They'll go years back. That's how we do things, right? Boy, if Iran's going against Trump, wouldn't that mean that if I was told with the Tenet Media stuff, Russia disinformation, some of the things that they're pushing are things like inflation's too high. That was one of the things they said. So then I guess we could say people that say Trump's a threat to democracy, seeing as how Iran's going after Trump, I guess we could say that's Iranian misinformation, correct? That's pushing Iranian talking points, yes? That's the rules, right? Not my rules, not my standard. That's the standard that we've been told by the establishment in the Democratic Party. And you might say, now wait a minute. What's the connection to the Biden administration or to the Harris administration? Well, who reinstated the money to the Iran deal? Oh, that was the Biden-Harris administration. started to send them billions of dollars, which promptly went to Hezbollah and was used for attacks in Israel, which then we were told by the Harris-Biden administration that we then have to fund Israel. So certainly the policies of the Harris-Biden administration far more beneficial to Iran than any of the Trump policies were to Russia, and we screamed Russia, Russia, Russia for 4 years. Trump was more antagonistic to Russia than any president since Reagan. Sent Javelin missiles to Ukraine, increased U.S. energy production, had sanctions on Russian energy production. I didn't agree with some of this shit. Not only that, we know that at least one official in the Biden camp was actually accused of being a spy for Iran, which is worse than anyone that was in the Trump campaign with Russia. From the Free Beacon. Significant confusion, lack of supervision, and delayed notification. IG report skewers State Department's handling of Robert Malley's suspension. This is from today. The State Department grossly mishandled its suspension of scandal-plagued Iran envoy Robert Malley, allowing him to continue accessing classified information and sensitive data after he was disciplined, according to the IG report. The department's assistant inspector general gathered congressional staffers Wednesday afternoon for a closed-door briefing on the agency's missteps after Malley had his security clearance pulled in 2023 for mishandling classified information. The briefing revealed that Malley was permitted to engage in classified activities even after his clearance was pulled, representing a breach of federal protocol according to the attendees. Malley was also treated differently than other employees accused of a major security breach, with the State Department working to shield him from public embarrassment, according to the inspector general and accompanied briefing. Information about Malley's situation was withheld from senior State Department officials, including his own deputy, according to some attending the briefing. The Inspector General further determined that Malley was still performing his official duties after his security clearance was revoked, again in breach of State Department protocol. The briefing and accompanying report provided a rare window into Malley's suspension and the circumstance surrounding it. The Iran envoy's security clearance was originally revoked in late April 2023, but the State Department kept it hidden from public view for more than 2 months. That process deviated from department policy, the Inspector General determined. The department deviated from the way the suspensions are typically delivered by delaying notification to Mr. Malley until senior department officials were appraised of his suspension, according to a copy of the report. The delay allowed him the opportunity to participate in classified conference call after the suspension was approved, but before he was notified. The, quote, secure telephone call referenced in the report took place April 21st, after Malley's security clearance was revoked and included White House officials. In late May, a month after Malley had his clearance revoked, he was included in an email with then Undersecretary of Political Affairs Victoria Nuland. Isn't that funny how her name keeps coming up? Regarding talking points for the Secretary of State Blinken. Nuland reported being unaware of Malley's clearance suspension despite having to work with him. After vacating his government post, Malley accepted 2 teaching gigs at Yale and Princeton. The Inspector General report says that Malley is still technically the Biden-Harris administration's Iran envoy and will remain so, quote, until he resigns or is removed by the department if his security clearance is permanently revoked. Isn't that great? So the point person for the Harris-Biden administration to deal with Iran was mishandling classified documents, appointing people that ended up being connected to nefarious groups working for Iran, was covered up in a litany of ways, including from the IG and from Congress. Now we find out that Iran's hacking Trump's team's material and then sending it to Democrats. FISA warrants anyone? That's the process, right? Seems like a bunch of shady connections to Iran. Right? Way more than any connections. What was it? What was the big connection from Trump's campaign when we had FISA warrants? What was that big connection? Allegedly, someone told George Papadopoulos, we have emails of Hillary Clinton. And Paul Manafort talked about pulling data to a Ukrainian named Konstantin Klemenuk. That's it. Any accusation that there was someone leaking classified material to the Russians? No, but that's what we have with the Biden administration. Was Trump sending the Russians billions of dollars? No, but that's what we have with the Harris-Biden administration, with the Iranian deal. Huh. Isn't that on? So I assume there's FISA documents right now, right? Of course, you had the Alpha Bank story as well, Edmund Bacon. Isn't it on? Yeah, Ricky Metzenbaum said, don't forget about the Chinese spy with like Swalwell. Dianne Feinstein's driver for 10 years was a Chinese spy. Thanks so much, Vita, for the super chat for $2. Wonder if his house will be raided like Trump did. Right. Are they going to call, say, Fox News to wait outside his house in the middle of the night while they drag him out in his underwear like they did with Roger Stone? They going to do that? That's the standard, right? That's what we were told. That's how things are done. Anytime someone now says something critical of Donald Trump, can we say that's Iranian disinformation? Those are Iranian talking points? That's how the game's played, right? This comes when Vladimir Putin personally said he would prefer Kamala Harris to win. Now, I know if I'm talking to some of my Democrat friends that stream, they'll say, well, that Putin didn't really mean that. Of course, he's going to say the opposite of what he wants to occur. Of course. Oh, no. I was reliably told if someone says I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, even on social media, that's the end-all be-all. So this Ryan Ruth character, the newest attempted assassin of Donald Trump, because as we talked about yesterday, because he had a post saying I voted for Trump at one point and Vivek and Haley shouldn't drop out of the race. That's it, says people like Destiny. He's a Republican. Really? We're not going to look into if that makes any sense. He donated to Act Blue 19 times. He has a Biden-Harris sticker on his truck. He voted in the Democratic primary election. He clearly hated Trump because he was trying to kill him. We're going to ignore all that because he had one post that said, hey, I voted for Trump in 2016 and I hope Vivek and Haley stay in the race. So if we're going to take his words at face value, why not Putin's? Putin says he's a Harris supporter. He wants Harris to win. We know Iran doesn't like Trump and they want the Democrats to win. They seem pretty bad. Aren't they involved right now with terrorist activity in Israel? Isn't that great? We fund Israel. And then we have a current administration that's funding Iran, that's funding terrorists to attack Israel. So then we have to fund Israel more so they can beat back the terrorists that we're indirectly funding. Isn't that great? Oh, and by the way, it turns out we have officials that are appointing Iranian officials to positions of prominence in the U.S. government. And then it's being covered up by the Harris-Biden administration. Meanwhile, Iran is hacking emails and what have some sort of material of the Trump campaign and sending it to the Democrats. FISA warrants anyone? What do you think the chances are of the people like IRI the other day on that panel that said, Rob, you're just a stooge of Russia? What do you think the chances are that he's saying, oh my God, I've been a stooge of Iran? Of course not. They don't care about the double standard. They'll just say, oh, well, we're saying what we really believe. And if Iran happens to parrot those same things, they're just trying to cause general division. They're not picking a side, just general division. That's what they'll say. And why wouldn't Iran cheer for Harris-Biden? They're sending them billions of dollars. Trump shut that down. It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with that policy. People could agree or disagree. What matters is, certainly Iran liked that. Certainly Iran preferred Biden to Trump. Certainly Iran would prefer Harris to Trump. Now, personally, my standard is, so what? It's worth talking about. It's worth saying, well, but does that mean that Harris administration's a stooge of Iran? No. Does that mean the people that are saying we hate Trump are stooges of Iran? No. But that's not, why does my standard matter? Their standard is, you're spreading Russian talking points when you talk favorably about Trump. Their standard is FISA warrants when there's shady connections to a campaign and a hostile foreign network. So why shouldn't they be held to the same standard that they've sought to others?